So I figured since 'tis the season and all, let's maybe deviate a little bit from our standard programming and talk a little bit about Hallmark movies, because they're as Christmassy as they get these days. Um, Specifically, I wanted to talk about why AI is a problem, whereas formulaic storytelling isn't necessarily a problem and has its place. And that is, like, I personally have no issues with formulaic, trashy, paperback, Hallmark movie style things. I think they're great for just enjoyment. And actually, of all the things, I tend to have a much easier time with these sorts of stories in just saying, I know it's stupid, so I'll just accept what's happening and get into it and like it for what it is. Not everything has to be great literature after all, right? And so in particular, I wanted to talk about like what happened to Hallmark, right? And I think the best exemplify this is two Hallmark movies that I watched 7 years apart. And so I know there's arguments about this because there was a point where Hallmark was, I mean, it's always been formulaic. Just like with all the paperback romance novels, there was a point where they figured it out. I have a book over there that talks about this. And they would just churn and burn and create all these things. And you would have writers and ghostwriters and people who were just like, who essentially treated it like a job, were not trying to make anything meaningful. So they just wrote formulaic stories, put them down, and everyone said, yeah, good enough, that's what I want here. And that was Hallmark too. And well, after the writer's strike in 2008, whenever the writer's strike was, the first one, not the most recent one, you could see where Hallmark was more disposing of like the professional guild writers and getting whatever, but they were still humans writing these stories for the most part. And since they had basically carefully crafted it to such a point where you didn't necessarily need talented people, you just needed technically proficient people to write these things, it worked. And the reality is, as stupid as these stories are, you're not necessarily watching them for the stories, you're watching them for the feelings they invoke. So the atmosphere, Hallmark is so good at atmosphere, the sets, the clothing, the everything. Like, yes, it's cheap, but it's the right sort of cheap where all you think is, this is Christmas, this is nostalgia, you know, the baking cookies and the tree cutting and the, you know, just the Christmas. It's Christmas, or it's Thanksgiving. The summer movies, not as much. I've watched a few of those even, and but the Christmas movies are just, they're down pat. They're cute. When you think Christmas, you do also think Hallmark. And it's part of the reason, like, when Netflix tried to kind of rip it off, well, there was something quite interesting and crazy about what they were doing. It wasn't quite the same because that formula does add a lot to why we like these things. And even, dare I say, love. Like, it is just part of the season. And you can say, oh, it's commercialized and whatever. But I think there is something about the atmosphere is just Christmassy. The characters are overall nice, good people, if a little boring and flat. And at the end, you know, the pretty girl and the pretty guy are gonna get together and have a happy ever after, and then it's gonna cut to credits, and it just gives you this warm, fuzzy feeling that even me, the most cynical person on earth, can go, yeah, I feel okay. But here's the problem. Since they've introduced AI, and they definitely have introduced AI because Hallmark of all people is definitely going to use AI, you can start to see the cracks where the AI doesn't get it. Because there are things that even a human who is not that talented at storytelling or writing can catch and say, yeah, that's a little too much, or that's a little ridiculous, that the AI is not. And this example is two movies, and woe is me, I do not remember what they were called at all. It is almost impossible to look up these movies after the fact, because there's just too many of them. But one I watched in 2017, and the other I watched last year. And I don't think it came out last year, I think it came out the year before, but whatever. So I chose these two because they actually had very, very similar premises, and they both had the same problem. And I called it out in 2017, but I still sat through the whole movie. This 2024 movie, though, didn't really work. And it was this. The 2017 movie, the premise was that a girl who was a historian gets hired like 2 weeks before Christmas to put up a tree, like a decorated Christmas tree, in, I think, like the Plaza Hotel in New York or something. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous, by the way, because if you've done any event planning, like any, I mean, even if you just plan like a freaking bar mitzvah or something, right? You know these things take so much time, let alone like a historical tree lighting and decorating. Yeah, that is something they've been planning from at least the year before, if not like several years in advance. You don't just hire someone last minute to make this tree decorating happen. Especially if you wanted to do like, I don't know, it was like some historical like 50 or 100-year event, whatever the story was. So I was already rolling my eyes, especially because like my major is history in college, and I know, having done some big research projects, that you cannot do those in 2 weeks, let alone do the research, then get all the materials, then get the tree up, then like the whole story, because most of the story was trying to find this historical star to put on the tree because it had meaning or something. I'm a little hazy on the details, but Hallmark assumes you're stupid enough to fall for it, and everyone I was watching this with, my family, were stupid enough to fall for it. And it was something where, like, okay, as stupid as this idea is that you would hire someone literally 2 weeks before Christmas to do a huge project like this, you could kind of like just accept it for what it was, because it was this small thing in the grand scheme of things. It wasn't like she was putting on a whole party, a whole parade, a whole anything. It was just decorating a tree. Fine. And I don't remember what the guy's deal was. Probably something corporate, you know, take down the tree or something. I don't know. Like, girl was flat, guy was flat, but they were pretty, so you wanted them to kiss at the end. Great story. So that was like, okay, fine. The 2024 movie, though, had a similar premise of a last-minute hiring to do something. And in this case, it was the girl had applied to be in a Christmas fair in Germany, or, yeah, one of those, like, big open market things. And she was a glass blower who did glass ornaments. And around Thanksgiving time in America, because she's in America, she finds out there's a cancellation, and suddenly there's a booth open for her. So I don't know about you, but anyone who's ever done logistics or any sort of shipping, I mean, I just did a bunch of shipping to ship out my books for my campaign. Which, by the way, if you would like, still have books for sale. Look in the description below. What? Like, you're seriously gonna, okay, so cancellations happen at these Christmas markets. That's fine. But usually what you will have is like a wait list of local artists to bring in. Or you would like combine the booth with someone else's booth to kind of fill in that gap. You wouldn't give it to a girl in America with glass ornaments to be shipped to Germany within a week. Or maybe it was 2 weeks. I don't know. Even the timeline of this didn't make sense because most of these Christmas markets start in December. And she got the notice at Thanksgiving. And already I'm like, ugh. And then the movie does this thing where, oh, to get her Christmas ornaments over to Germany, well, you know, she can't actually afford the expedited shipping, which is thousands of dollars, of course. So she goes El Cheapo postal, and they never show up. I mean, everyone could see that from a mile away. And then, again, I don't remember what the love interest was. I think he was as flat as they all are, and she was flat too. But it was this last-minute insert here to prep for an event. The two were so similar. One is a Christmas tree, but the other is a Christmas market. And the problem with this one is that this is a much bigger event thing to plan than just decorating a tree. Like, at the end of the day, as stupid as that was, as much as we know that it takes forever to decorate those Christmas trees at the plaza and you really need to be prepped for it, we also, I think, are inserting in our heads how it only takes us like a day to do our own tree. So you can forgive it because we mentally step back and just go, well, it doesn't take us that long, right? So maybe this is forgivable. But anyone who's shipped anything around Christmas time, first of all, knows like postage is expensive, and then the logistics of your thing getting there on time, getting there in one piece, let alone like a whole market's worth of glass ornaments or whatever. It ain't happening. And the idea that the market would hire this girl to replace someone last minute, that ain't happening either. The whole thing is a logistical nightmare, and you're just sitting there going, and as you see the mistakes piling up, like yes, of course you're going to use the cheap postal service, and of course they're not going to show up, and of course you're going to have issues down the line. I don't even think I finished the movie because I just couldn't stop rolling my eyes at how ridiculous this whole premise was. And that was the thing. I think that's where you see the AI the most, is like, a human would catch this. A human would say, this doesn't work. Like, no way at all does it work. We have to suspend our disbelief. I get it. These are Hallmark movies after all. The idea that these people would just fall in love and get married after 2 days. Yeah, we know. But then there are realities. And so yes, with the Christmas tree, we can insert ourselves into the scenario and go, well, it wouldn't take us that much time. But so for something like this, when we try to insert ourselves into the scenario, we go, well, yeah, remember that one time I tried to last minute post a gift for someone at Christmas and it didn't get there on time? That's all we're thinking about. And that's the problem with AI at the end of the day, is that AI doesn't catch any of this. AI can't. And you, the human, will be able to notice this. Trust me. So anytime someone is like, AI will take over, just know, yeah, but think about all these logistical nightmares.